No one came to my 30th birthday. Then my mom sent me a $1,680 bill for my dad's party. Turning 30 is weird. You're not old. You're not young. You're just noticed less. But I figured, whatever, I'll throw myself a little party. Low pressure. Nice place. Good drinks. Sent out invites to 12 people. Mostly family, a couple friends from college. My mom even said it was a great idea. So I booked the back room at Briar Lounge in Des Moines. Paid a deposit. Ordered cake. Even made a playlist on Spotify with songs that meant something across the years. And on Saturday at 7 p.m., I sat at a long wooden table with 3 empty chairs on each side and waited. By 7:15, I figured people were running late. By 7:45, I was calling myself dramatic for checking my phone every 10 seconds. By 8:10, the bartender asked if I was still expecting people. I said yes, but I wasn't, because no one came. Not my mom, Linda. Not my dad, Jason. Not my sister, Erica. Not even my best friend, Zach, who helped me build IKEA furniture with a beer and no instructions 2 years ago. 12 invites. 0 guests. Before we go further, don't forget to like this story, hit subscribe, and tap the bell so you don't miss what happens next. At 8:26, I blew out the candle on my own cupcake. At 8:28, I tipped the staff $100 out of sheer humiliation. At 8:30, I left with a box of food for one and a head full of excuses I told myself on the drive home. They forgot. They got busy. It was an accident. I still believe that. Until a week later. 7 days later, almost to the hour, I get a message from my mom. No, happy birthday. No, sorry we missed it. Just, hey, can you Venmo $1,680? We went a little over budget for Dad's 50th. Your sister already sent her half. I read it twice. I sat on my couch, stunned, holding that message like it was radioactive. They skipped my birthday. All of them. No explanation. And a week later, I was expected to help fund his. And here's the kicker. I had sent out reminders. I'd texted them a week before. I'd sent a calendar invite. Even called Mom the night before to confirm. She said, yeah, we'll try to stop by. Try. They didn't forget. They just didn't come. So I opened Venmo, typed in her name, sent $1, captioned it, congrats on having a better kid. Then I blocked her, blocked my dad, blocked my sister, blocked Zach, blocked everyone who sat silent while I waited with 3 untouched appetizers and my favorite dumb hat. That same night, I got a voicemail from my sister. Nate, you're being immature. We didn't mean to hurt your feelings. It's not like you made it clear it was important. You're 30, not 13. Not important. I dropped $400 on food and drinks. Reserved a private space. Made place cards. I even bought my dad a bottle of his favorite bourbon for his birthday. And I wasn't important? The next morning, I got an email. From my dad. We're really disappointed in the way you're handling this. We didn't think you'd react like this over something so minor. Please do the right thing and send the money so we can reimburse Erica for your half. My half. As if we were splitting family like a restaurant check. So I did the most disrespectful thing I've ever done to my parents. I didn't reply. 3 days of silence later, Erica texted me, are you okay? Mom's worried. You're not answering anyone. I didn't respond. So they filed a missing person report. Dead serious. Police knocked on my door. Asked if I was in danger. Said my mom had called crying, convinced I'd done something to myself. I told them I was fine. But also, I told them everything. And one of them, the younger officer, looked at me and said, sounds like you've been missing for a lot longer than a few days. That's when I realized. This wasn't about a party. It was about years of me paying for everything emotionally, financially, logistically, and getting nothing back but silence and guilt. This time, they were going to feel what it was like to be left out. You know what happens when you stop being useful to people who only ever saw you as a resource? They panic. Not because they love you. Because they're losing access. After I blocked everyone, I gave myself a rule, no contact for 30 days. 1 month of quiet. No texts. No calls. No Venmo requests. No guilt-tripping disguised as family concern. I muted every thread. Archived every email. Turned off notifications completely. I needed silence like oxygen. But they didn't take the hint. Day 3. Voicemail from a blocked number. Nate, we're worried. This isn't like you. Just let us know you're safe. Day 4. Message from Zach's girlfriend. Hey, your mom's blowing up Facebook. Said you're missing. Day 5. The cops knocked again. Same officers. This time with a wellness check. I told them I wasn't missing. They asked if I'd call my mom. I said, if I do, this entire reset becomes pointless. Day 7. I got an email from Jason, my father, with the subject line, Let's be adults about this. Inside, you're making a mountain out of nothing. The money was a request, not a demand. This silence is hurting your mother. Grow up and talk to us. This behavior is beneath you. I stared at the screen and felt something shift. This wasn't just disappointment. This was the tone of control. I know that tone. I grew up with it. It's the voice that says, you don't get to have needs. You're supposed to be useful. I didn't respond. Instead, I went for a walk, bought myself breakfast, sat in the sun for the first time in weeks, and made a list on my phone. Things I've paid for without thanks. Erica's student loan interest, $3,200 Jason's dental work, $2,600 mom's car insurance. 6 months $1,900 bailout when their AC broke, $4,500 annual holiday gifts, every year for 9 years, $300, 500 random groceries, gas fill-ups, cash apps, God knows total. Well over $25,000. That didn't even count the house. Backstory. For years ago, I co-signed on a loan for my parents' second mortgage. They said it was just temporary. They'd refinance and take my name off in a year. They never did. They just stopped talking about it. And I let them, because I was raised to believe sacrifice was love. Day 10, I got a new Venmo request, $1,680 again. Caption, we haven't heard from you. Maybe this will remind you what matters. From Linda, my mother. She literally used a money request to try and emotionally blackmail me. So I declined it, blocked her account, then took a screenshot and posted it to Reddit. It went viral in under an hour. Thousands of comments. People sharing their own stories. Dozens of messages saying, I thought I was the only one. And that's when it hit me. This wasn't just a family problem. It was a pattern of adult children being drained, dismissed, then punished when they finally said, no. Day 14. Erica showed up at my apartment. I didn't answer the door. She knocked for 12 minutes. Yelled through the door. You're being cruel. You're tearing the family apart. No, I thought. I'm letting it fall apart. You built it on guilt. She left a note under the door. I read it once and burned it in the sink. Day 17. My landlord forwarded me an email. My mother had contacted them. Claimed I was mentally unwell. Said I might need a wellness visit. Asked for access to my lease. I called the landlord directly. Explained everything. He paused, then said, don't worry. I've seen this before. Day 21. Marked my calendar. I changed the lock on my credit file. Removed myself from every joint account I could find. Froze my credit with TransUnion, Experian, Equifax. Filed for mortgage release. Started the process of cutting my name off their debt for good. That's when they finally cracked. Day 23. Voicemail from Linda. We can't believe you'd treat us like this. We were just trying to celebrate your father. You've embarrassed us. Your Reddit post made us a joke. Congratulations, Nate. You got your pity points. I didn't feel guilt. I felt something better. Clarity. Day 30. I lit a candle. Sat down. Wrote a letter. Not for them. For me. I forgive myself for all the years I made myself small so they could stay comfortable. I forgive myself for buying my place at the table. I forgive myself for believing they'd show up for me. Then I folded the letter, tucked it in my drawer, and never looked back. I knew it would come to this. When you cut off emotional supply, manipulators don't retreat. They re-strategize. And in my case, they went after the one thing that still had my name on it, the house. Back in 2019, my parents wanted to refinance. Their credit was trash. Mine was perfect. They guilled me into co-signing a new mortgage so they could save the family home. Said it would only be temporary. Told me they'd refinance on their own in 12 months. Promised they'd cover every payment. I believed them. I always believed them. Fast forward to now, for years later, my name's still on that deed. And after I went no contact, they tried to make it permanent. I got the alert through my credit monitor. Mortgage activity detected. I hadn't touched the file in years. So I logged in and saw it. New refinance request submitted. Same house. Same lender. New paperwork. But this time, my name wasn't on the borrower section. Only on the liability side. They were trying to remove me from the asset but leave me holding the bag. If that sounds illegal, it's not, technically. It's predatory. It's manipulative. And it's exactly what they thought they could get away with if I wasn't watching. I called the bank. Spoke to a loan officer who sounded like she'd seen every dirty family move in the book. Sir, your name's still listed as a co-debtor. The application's flagged because they didn't have your digital consent. They tried to file without telling me. Yes, that's not uncommon in family-linked applications. Happens more than you'd think. Can I block it? You already did. Your silence counted as non-consent. That night, I emailed my lawyer. Her name's Rachel Logan. Smart, direct, doesn't blink when you say things like, "My parents tried to fake me off a mortgage I co-signed so they could screw me without my name on the paperwork." She read the documents, paused, then said, "We can do one of two things. File a cease and desist and freeze the application. Sue for removal and reimbursement of your financial contributions." I didn't even hesitate. I want both. A week later, Rachel sent a formal letter to the mortgage lender and my parents. Certified mail. Legal letterhead. Clear as crystal. Any attempt to modify or refinance this mortgage without the full participation and consent of Mr. Nathan Walker constitutes fraud, negligence, and breach of fiduciary duty. She CC'd every department at the bank. And a day later, my dad called from a new number. Left a voicemail. His voice shaking. "I don't know what the hell you're doing, but you need to calm down. You're blowing this up into something it's not." I didn't call back. Rachel filed the second motion 2 days later, demanding a full audit of all mortgage payments under my name. Why? Because I'd covered $18,000 worth of payments during COVID when they couldn't afford it and never saw a cent back. She also included the full Venmo logs, emails, and copies of the refinance attempts. 3 days later, they lawyered up. Not to apologize, not to negotiate, but to fight. They hired a family attorney who tried to argue that all of my contributions had been gifts out of love. Rachel crushed it with one line: "Love isn't legally binding. Signatures are." We requested a financial review. Their attorney fought it. But the bank, under pressure, turned over everything. And the numbers? Ugly. They had missed 5 payments, delayed interest twice, and they tried to sneak a line of credit onto the house last year, also in my name. That was the final straw. I filed a civil claim for full removal of my name, repayment of all mortgage-related support, $18,284 compensation for reputational damage due to credit risk, legal fees. The claim was approved for court. And when the notice hit their mailbox, they went silent until Erica called. Of course, because when the parents are under fire, they send the golden child. She left a voice memo. "Nate, please. This is Dad's retirement home. You don't want to take that away from him. Just talk to us." I listened twice, then blocked her again, because they weren't asking me to be kind. They were asking me to surrender. Again. Final hearing scheduled. Court date, September 11th. Judge, Walker versus Walker, civil dispute over fraudulent financial use of co-signature. I was ready. I had every document, every payment, every screenshot. And I had Rachel, who walked into that court like it was her personal playground. "You ever try putting a price on silence?" I did. Turns out, it's 6 digits long. After the court accepted my motion, Rachel suggested something simple, brutal, and absolutely genius. "Let's send them the number." What number? The one they've been avoiding for years. So we sat down. 3 meetings. 50 tabs open. For old bank statements. Venmo history going back to 2015. And we built what she called the Walker family ledger on the first page. Financial audit. Nathan Walker, date range, January 2015 to August 2024. Status: unreimbursed contributions and loans provided to Jason and Linda Walker. Parents: and Erica Walker's sister. And below that, the breakdown: mortgage support, $18,284. Erica's tuition bridge, $11,000. Family vehicle repair, 2017, $3,600. Linda's medical deductible, for $1,700. Emergency bailout when Dad's business failed, 2019, $32,000. Credit card payoffs, 3 separate events, $9,400. Groceries, holidays, just until payday. Venmos, $7,800. Down payment support on the house, $22,000. Co-sign loan interest, unrepaid $19,200. Missed promotions and lost job relocation opportunity due to credit entanglement, estimated $45,000. Lawyer fees, projected $8,500. Emotional damages and reputational risk, symbolic value $18,000. Total, $199,484. Rachel smirked. "Let's round up." We sent them the invoice for $200,000. I didn't expect them to pay it. That wasn't the point. The point was, I wanted them to see what my love actually cost me. We attached a 5-page itemized PDF with transaction records, calendar notes, Venmo screenshots, receipts, emails, and bank logs. Every line followed by, "No repayment. No thanks. No acknowledgement." The subject line of the email was simple: 200,000 reasons I went no contact. 12 hours later, Erica responded. Not with an apology, but with this: "Wow, you really kept score all these years." Yes, because no one else was keeping track of what they were taking. Then my dad chimed in. We didn't raise you to throw money in people's faces. No. You raised me to hand it over and shut up. Then came my mother. I'm sorry if you feel unappreciated, but suing your own parents? That's low. If you start a sentence with, I'm sorry if you feel, you're not apologizing, you're gaslighting. So I posted it. Redacted names. But the story? All out there. The internet exploded. I didn't do it for revenge. I did it for documentation. Because when people think you're cold, selfish, or changed, they forget what pushed you there. A week later, Rachel got a call. Their lawyer wanted to settle. They're willing to pay $40,000 over 3 years. Rachel laughed. We'll see you in court. They started panicking. That's when the family group chat I hadn't seen in months suddenly blew up. Erica tried emotional blackmail. How can you watch your parents sell off everything they have while you sit with your lawyer? Jason tried guilt. One day you'll be a parent, and you'll understand. Linda tried shame. You've become someone we don't recognize. So I responded. In the group. One message. You only recognize me when I'm giving. When I'm silent. When I'm saying yes. The moment I said no, I became selfish, cruel, distant. You never loved me. You loved what I did for you. Now you can live without it. Then I left the chat. Again. Permanently. 3 days later, their lawyer offered $90,000. Cash. Lump sum. We accepted. Filed the release. Signed the agreement. Got the wire. I stared at my account that day, and for the first time in my adult life, I saw freedom as a number. Not enough to erase what they took, but enough to close the door without regret. You want to know what real power feels like? Not vengeance. Not screaming at people who hurt you. Just getting paid for the years they said your pain didn't matter. Getting that $90,000 wasn't revenge. It was repayment. But it wasn't the end. Because even after I cashed the wire and cut ties, their world kept collapsing piece by piece. And I watched. Not out of spite. Out of clarity. 3 weeks after the payout, I got a call from the bank's fraud department. They were required to notify me as a former cosigner. The house, the one I'd co-signed for, was listed for sale. A quick Zillow check confirmed it. For bedroom, 2.5 bath, motivated seller, listed under market value. I laughed. Of course they were motivated. They were bleeding out. I didn't tell anyone. Didn't text Erica. Didn't call Jason or Linda. Didn't gloat. I just watched the listing quietly drop by $10,000 every 2 weeks. Then came the car. Jason's favorite truck, the one he used to tell me I'd inherit someday, showed up on Facebook Marketplace. Then Linda's jewelry, her precious gold wedding band, listed anonymously by Erica's college roommate. They were selling their memories. Because they'd lost the one thing that kept their finances stitched together. Me. I found out later that the day they sent that $90,000 wire, their joint savings dropped below $2,000. Rachel said, they paid in blood. You good with that? Yeah, I said. They paid late. But they paid. Still, I knew what was coming next. The begging. And sure enough, it arrived. In the form of a letter, hand-delivered, folded in half, slipped under my apartment door. No return address. No signature. But I knew the handwriting. Linda. The letter was 5 pages long. I read every word. Here are the highlights. You've made your point. We sold what we could. We're humiliated. You were right. We took too much. Please, let's fix this. Please don't let this be permanent. And then the final line, we're still your parents. I folded the letter in silence. I didn't cry. Didn't feel anger. Just emptiness. The kind of silence that comes after a bomb, when the air stops moving and all that's left is the ringing. Because here's the truth. They didn't write because they missed me. They wrote because they missed the version of me who paid and never asked why. I didn't respond. Instead, I wrote one sentence on a blank note card. This door doesn't reopen just because you're cold. I didn't send it. I just tucked it into my journal. And every time I doubt myself, I read it again. The house eventually sold. $58,000 below asking. Erica posted a story on Instagram with just one word. Loss. Loss? No, sweetheart. That's called math. A friend of mine ran into Jason at a gas station 2 months later. Said he looked thinner. Grayer. When asked how the family was doing, Jason just muttered, we lost the smart one. Damn right. And you lost him because you thought he'd never leave. Linda tried again last Christmas. Another letter. This time in a red envelope. Inside was a photo. The 3 of them, Mom, Dad, Erica, sitting on a couch with 4 smiles and a caption in her handwriting. There's always a seat for you. But I already had a table. And every seat at it? Earned. It's been 16 months. Since the lawsuit. Since the payout. Since the letter stopped. Since I stopped answering to the name they only used when they wanted something. You'd be surprised how quiet life gets when you stop explaining your boundaries. I changed apartments, started a new job, new state, new phone number, new people. No one here knows me as the guy who paid his parents' mortgage, or the brother who co-signed everything and asked for nothing. I'm just Nathan now. And God, that feels good. Then, on a random Thursday night, it happened. I was invited to a coworker's birthday at a bowling alley. I almost said no, almost made up an excuse. But something in me said, you're allowed to go out and just be human now. So I went. Shoes on, pitcher of beer, cheap neon lights. And for the first time in months, I laughed. Really laughed. Then I went to grab nachos. And as I stepped out of the lane area, I saw him. Jason, my father, lane 17, holding a beer, wearing that same damn windbreaker I thought he threw out 10 years ago. He hadn't seen me yet. He was standing with two guys I didn't recognize, smiling, looser in the shoulders than I remembered. But he looked older, grayer, heavier around the eyes. He turned and saw me. And for a second, nothing. Just recognition. Then confusion. Then something I hadn't seen in him since I was 12. Regret. He opened his mouth, stepped forward, like he might say something, might ask if we could talk, might say my name in that tired, half-authoritative way that used to freeze me in place. And you know what I did? I turned around, walked back to the lane, picked up my beer, bowled a strike. I didn't know him as seen, didn't know him a moment, didn't know him closure. Because closure is a privilege, not a right. That night, I went home, pulled out the letter he left me years ago. The first one, the one where he said I was blowing it out of proportion. I burned it, watched the paper curl and blacken in my kitchen sink. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel guilty. I felt clean. A few weeks later, I got an email from Erica. New account. Unfamiliar name. But I knew the writing. Saw you at the alley. Dad said you looked good. We miss you. Please come to Mom's 60th. No expectations. Just family. Funny how they only say no expectations after you stop giving them everything. I didn't respond. I didn't even finish reading it. I blocked the address and went back to my lunch. Because peace? Peace is not hearing from people who only call you family when they need something. Peace is knowing I won't get another, just checking in text attached to a Venmo request. Peace is the silence of a phone that doesn't light up with guilt. Do I miss them? Sometimes. In theory. The way you miss a book you never finished, just because it sat on your shelf for so long. But the real answer? No. I miss who I thought they were, not who they chose to be. I tell people now, you don't owe your family anything except the version of yourself they didn't destroy. And mine didn't want a son. They wanted a donor. So I cut the cord. And I didn't bleed. Last week, I bought a house. My name. My money. My choice. I painted the front door dark blue. Put in shelves by the window. Hung a print on the wall that says, you can't heal in the house where you got sick. It was the first thing I unpacked. A friend asked me the other day, if they apologized, really apologized, would you let them back in? I took a sip of coffee and said, if they ever truly apologized, they wouldn't ask to come back. They'd just let me be free. Maybe that sounds cold, but it's not. It's what happens when the people who raised you never taught you how to say no, so you learn the hard way. Through lawyers, through ledgers, through empty chairs on your 30th birthday. The last thing I'll say is this. If someone walks out of your life because you stopped paying their bill, let them go. They were never staying for love, just for the tab. If this story touched you, share it with someone who needs to hear it too.